Welcome to Centered with JC Polanco, the place for no-nonsense conversations. This is our very first podcast, and it's our inaugural guest. You can't make this up. We have the benefit of being joined today by three-term former governor of the state of New York, former attorney general, and former secretary of housing and urban development, and current independent candidate for mayor of New York City. Welcome, Governor Cuomo. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, JC.
Now, Governor, it's been a tough couple of days for us here in New York with the tragedy that we've seen, the shooting and the killing of Officer Islam. How do you think the city is dealing with this tragedy? And how do you think a Mayor Mamdani would deal with such a tragedy?
Well, first, JC, thank you very much for having me on your inaugural podcast, and good luck to you on it. And
Thank you so
I'm
much.
a big fan of your work, and I think this is going to be a great public service for more dialogue. So congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Look, New York City has had a bad few years, right? But you're 100% right. The past couple of days have been horrendous. And we all, our thoughts and prayers, and we're all heartbroken for Officer Islam's family. I mean, a pregnant wife, two young sons. It's horrific. It's horrific. And the other victims, we've lost four New Yorkers to this senseless violence. I think for me, and I think I'm somewhat reflective, there's almost a PTSD after 9/11. You know, you hear something like this, and it brings you back to that fear, that anxiety that you felt post 9/11, where out of the blue, something horrific could happen. And I think it's reminded a lot of New Yorkers of that. I think it's also pointed out again, New York City is a target. We are the big stage, for better or for worse, for good and for bad. And people who want to make a statement, they come here. When Mangione wanted to make a statement about the health industry, he came here. This person wanted to make a statement against the NFL for whatever reason, they came here. And we are that place, we are that target for those reasons. It also makes the point of the danger of assault weapons. I am so glad and so proud. I took a beating, but we passed the best gun control law in the United States of America called the SAFE Act. It outlawed assault weapons. It outlawed more than 10 bullets. It cost me political capital, but it saved lives, I am sure. But until we have a national assault rifle ban, this will still happen. You can't buy that gun in New York, but you can buy it in Nevada and drive it in. We had one incident where a person bought it in Pennsylvania, drove it into Buffalo. And why this nation won't stand up and show the political courage in Congress to pass an assault rifle ban, I have no idea. But you put mental illness together with an assault rifle, and that is TNT, that is dynamite, and that can happen on any given day. And I think it reminds New Yorkers, public safety matters, especially in this city. And don't forget it, because when you forget it at your own peril.
Right. How do you think an Assemblyman Mamdani, as mayor, would have handled such a tragedy and the awful shooting of Officer Islam?
Look, I think the Assemblyman, if you just read what he has said over and over and over again, every position he has taken has been anti-police. It shows that he doesn't respect the need for public safety. He said the NYPD are racist, they're anti-queer, that the police are the threat to public safety. He called for defunding the police. He went even further. He called it for dismantling the police. He called for ending what's called the Strategic Response Group, which responds to counterterrorism type activities, which responded to yesterday. He would dismantle the jail system, whatever the heck that means. So his political theory, he's socialist, which would bankrupt New York City, I believe. And I don't believe that's overly dramatic. New York City was near bankruptcy once before. The state had to bail it out. But he's socialist, anti-business. Government should control the means of production. And he has no regard for the importance of public safety and for the NYPD themselves.
Mm-hmm.
We have one of the highest attrition rates right now from the NYPD. They're leaving the job because they feel disrespected and disempowered.
Mm-hmm.
We can't recruit. Who would go work for a mayor who says the NYPD are racists?
Yeah.
You know,
Governor, do you think he's getting a free pass? I mean, these tweets are out there. You've been mentioning this, and I went to see it myself. They're there, and it's as if he's not being held to account for some of these things.
well, look, we could argue that the media itself is not probing deeply enough. But I'm not going to take that position because I'm going to protect the media. I think my campaign should have been more aggressive in outing these positions. I think I did do it, but I should have done it more.
Yeah.
And if I had been more aggressive about it, then maybe the media would have actually picked up on it. But all you had to do was do a Google search, right?
Yeah.
And all of these things turned up. And the whole conversation was about affordability, which is a major issue. But they overlooked public safety, which is always job one. It is always job one. It is always a top priority. You don't get to housing, you don't get to jobs until you deal with public safety.
Yeah. I got to tell you, Governor, I've been talking to my daughter who's 21. She's a recent college grad, SUNY Albany, like me. And she said, Papi, Governor Cuomo's on Instagram. He's on all the social media outlets. And I told her, well, this is Governor Cuomo 2.0. It looks like he's had some coffee. Very different Governor Cuomo than what we saw in the last couple of months. Governor, do you think you can connect to these Gen Z voters? I saw the switch. It's now you in the streets with your sleeves rolled up, talking to people in the streets, and it's Assemblyman Mamdani at the podium now. Do you think you could connect with Gen Z voters and millennials?
Oh, yeah, certain. I do believe that. And look, I have in the past, right? I communicated, let's say during COVID, I communicated with all New Yorkers, period. And they listened and they respected. And because during COVID, I didn't have the governmental authority to really enforce any of the things we were asking people to do, right? Wear a mask, social distancing. But people listened. Under 30, they're right on identifying the issues. Yes, they're very concerned about affordable housing. What I needed to be more aggressive about and what I'm more aggressive about now is, yeah, I get the problem. And you're right, the Assemblyman identified the problem. But that's only half the game. Identify the problem. The real question is, what is the solution? And is it a smart solution? And does someone have the ability to enact the solution? That's always the second part, which is frankly more relevant. And the Assemblyman associated himself with the problem and aired the problem. But the solutions are phony solutions. There is no there. I'm going to freeze the rent. Well, de Blasio did that, right? That didn't work, because if it worked, we wouldn't be where we are. Well, groceries aren't affordable. I'm going to have one grocery store in every borough. What the heck is that going to do?
Compete with bodegas, Governor.
It's going to put the bodegas out of business. You're going to compete with major grocery chains, and you're going to run a grocery store. You can't fill a pothole. Now you're going to go run a grocery store? I mean, none of it makes any sense.
Yeah.
But I had to be more aggressive, and I am now in just outing that. Because as soon as you scratch the surface, JC, there is no there.
Yeah. It's interesting because we're going to see a lot more of that, and to see how is it that you're going to handle that during the campaign, exactly what you're telling us, because it's independent voters that are going to have a big say right now. Governor, independent voters are going to come out and vote in November. We were kept out of closed party primaries. I'm looking at some of these districts, and I kid you not, 1% turnout, 2% turnout, 3% turnout. These closed party primaries in the end of June have gotten us in a situation where I would argue that mathematically, whoever wins in June wins in November 99% of the time in some of these districts. As a matter of fact, Speaker Pelosi at one point said that a Democrat, if a bottle of water is a Democrat in some of these districts, the bottle of water would win in the general election. And I'm wondering, why do you think the Charter Revision Commission have had the opportunity to allow for independent voters like myself, 1.1 million voters across the city, to vote in closed party primaries? They had an opportunity to put that on the ballot. They said no to nonpartisan primary elections. New Jersey has it. New Hampshire has it. California has it. All over the country, it's considered progressive. Governor, do you think there would have been a different result if independent voters had an opportunity to vote in the primary? And do you support having independents vote in primary elections?
Yeah, I think historically I did not, but it's a position I'm rethinking, JC, because look, the main problem you have with this political system is the extremes, right? The extreme left and the extreme right. I understand why you have this extreme response. They're frustrated. They feel that the government isn't working, that they have no place, that they can't get ahead. And you have a polarized left, a polarized right. The primaries reinforce that, right? You have a primary in June. Nobody knows about it. The primaries used to be first week in September after Labor Day. You came back, your kids went back to school. So now it's in June. Only the activists really organize in the primaries. Your point, then you can have 2-3% vote. Bill de Blasio got elected with 4% of New Yorkers or something crazy like that. So I think the primaries are actually exacerbating the dominance of the extremes on both the left and the right. And that is the polarization, right? If I were to tell you that a 33-year-old socialist who never had a job, who disrespects police and doesn't understand the need for public safety in New York City, who only passed 3 bills as an assembly person, who barely showed up, that person was going to be a serious contender for mayor, you would laugh, right?
Yeah.
But when you have a primary and a unnaturally small universe of people who come out, exacerbated by this under 30-year-old tremendous turnout by historical proportions, that's where you wind up with. Now, November is going to be, I think, more important than usual, because November, normally the independents and Republicans don't come out to vote because it's a foregone conclusion. Why should I come out to vote? The Democrat's going to win. The Democrat always wins in November.
That's how we feel, Governor. That's how we feel. And that's a problem, because it's true in a lot of these districts.
Yes, but this is different now, right? This is a different election.
Yeah.
And I think the 1.1 million independents are going to say, well, hold on here. I have independents who are now running and who are viable. And it's a wild twist. On the Democratic line, you have a socialist.
Right.
On the independent line, you have a Democrat, right?
Yeah.
Cuomo, the one thing it says is Democrat,
Right.
right? And you have the Assemblyman who's a socialist on the Democratic Party line. So it just shows how upside down we are politically. But I think the independents are going to say, oh, my vote actually matters now in New York City.
Yep.
And I think you're going to see an increased turnout on the independents.
I agree. I think this is going to be an incredible election, very different from other elections because of what you just mentioned. A lot of independent voters feel as if, hey, they're ignoring us completely. We don't have a say until November when you're going to hear us loud and clear. Governor, how are you going to talk directly to independent voters? I mean, this is a platform for us, nonpartisan independent voters and centrists. Talk to us about how are you going to connect with us?
Look, the centrists. What is centrists? A centrist is not an extremist.
Right.
Okay. I am a progressive Democrat, but I am grounded in practicality and pragmatism. My father, God rest his soul, used to call himself a pragmatic progressive. And we would have an argument because we love to argue. It was just a Cuomo thing, still is. I used to say that you don't need the word pragmatic. It's just progressive. And progressive is like confusing because when he would say it, you would see people's heads go like, whoop, like, what does that mean? He used to say, no, you need the word pragmatic to make the point that progressive is not an abstract theory. There's actually a functionality to progressivism, that you're actually doing something. You're not just philosophizing about what is progressive. You are acting in a way that is actually creating progress. So, and that is why pragmatic progressive was important to him. I am a pragmatic progressive. He was right. I was wrong. Not the first. I'm not an extremist, right? And I'm going to say to the independents the same thing I say to all New Yorkers. Look, city government is broken. The city has failed. This is not by an act of God that has created these problems, right?
Yep.
This is not 9/11. This is not a fiscal crisis. This is not COVID. This is just failed government. It's broken government, and we can fix it. And this city actually can be poised for a comeback. I think we can make New York City better than ever before, right? Because look, I was HUD secretary. All these urban areas are dealing with the same type of problems. I think we can actually address them, and it's very doable. There's no rocket science here. We have an affordable housing problem because you didn't build affordable housing.
Yeah, somebody got to tell these folks.
Well, because it takes you you can take 4 years to get a building permit in New York City. I built LaGuardia Airport in 4 years.
And it looks nice, Governor. Have you been there lately?
Oh, I go once in a while.
It's beautiful over there.
But you did it. New York City's broken government did it. Public safety. We defunded the police. Yeah. And now you have a public safety crisis. Homeless, mentally ill on the street. Yeah. That's your fault, broken government. You were supposed to be picking them up and getting them the help they need. So there is nothing here that we can't fix, right?
Yep.
Because broken government created the problem. Competent government can solve the problem. But we have failed leadership in New York City going backwards. We haven't had an effective mayor, in my opinion, since Bloomberg.
Okay.
I think de Blasio's 2 terms and Adams' administration have failed the city to be competent and effective. And we're not going to take these phony promises from a slick salesman that has great 3-word slogans: freeze the rent, the grocery store, fast free buses. But there's no there, and there's no real solution, and there's no experience and ability and competence to enact it anyway.
Governor, just a couple more questions, and I know I'm so happy that and gracious for your time. I gotta ask. You were governor in 2021. You talk about pragmatic, progressive. You sign marriage equality. You expand reproductive rights. You don't stop there. You give in on all of the criminal justice reforms that the progressives were fighting for, including bail. Yet, for some reason, you've been pushed out completely by the progressive lane. Why do you think that is?
Because there is a distortion within the Democratic Party. And it is an internal fight that we're going through, you know, you're right. I passed the most progressive laws in the United States of America. When we passed marriage equality, we were the first big state to pass marriage equality. We changed the entire dialogue. I passed the highest minimum wage law in the United States of America. Surrogacy, first big state to ever do that. In terms of accomplishments, go look at the Second Avenue subway, LaGuardia, Kennedy Airport, Mario Cuomo Bridge, the largest capital project in the United States done on time, on budget. Progressive to me, my father, meant making progress.
Mhm.
And I have done that. Well, now the progressives call me a moderate. On what theory? How did I become a moderate?
I don't know. I don't think Barack Obama could win a primary in today's Democratic Party. Governor,
No.
I don't see it.
Yeah. And what did they do to have the right to call themselves progressive?
Right.
Well, I advocate for a society of income equality. Yeah, that's nice
Yeah.
that you advocate that. I advocate that too.
Yeah.
But what have you accomplished?
Yeah.
Because people out there in the real world, all they're asking is, what did you do for me?
Right.
What did you do to make my life better? It's nice you give all these speeches that you're a progressive hero. How did you make my life better? And look, after the Biden administration, 4 years, I don't think Biden, people believed the administration did something for them that they could point to. And that's what it's all about. And that's why you look at the things I focused on, JC. It was things that made a difference in your life. You go to LaGuardia Airport, you take the Second Avenue subway, you go to Shirley Chisholm Park in Brooklyn, right? You now have the right to marry and have a family for the LGBTQ community. Your child has a scholarship for college tuition for the middle class. That affected your life. And that's what government is now missing. Yeah. And that's what's happening in New York City. Yeah. The government has failed me. Yes, it has.
Yep. Governor, campaigns, this is a question I'm going to ask of all the mayoral candidates when they come here on Centered with JC Polanco. And this is important. I view this campaign as a job interview. Now, imagine this for a second. Help wanted. CEO of New York City government. Description: supervise a budget of $118 billion, 300,000 employees, 1 million students in our public schools, a GDP of over $1 trillion, 10 million people at any given time in New York City. Why should New Yorkers hire you, Governor?
Yeah. First, I love the question because voters don't ask that question, JC. Otherwise, how did you elect Bill de Blasio? He never managed more than 6 people. He was public advocate. I don't know, real whatever that does. How did you hire him as a CEO when he had no experience? Eric Adams, legislator, borough president. Nice. What does that have to do with running and managing a major organization? So voters don't ask that question. I would say, thank you very much for asking, because that's the right question. I actually managed a larger budget. I actually dealt with a larger institution as governor of the state of New York. As HUD secretary, I did urban development all across the country. HUD is the main agency that deals with cities. I know how to build housing. I was the HUD secretary, and by the way, I was building affordable housing myself since I was in my 20s. I know how the subway system works. I built the Second Avenue subway, right? I intervened when the MTA didn't know what they were doing and were going to close down the L train tunnel. And I figured out the solution to keep it open. I handled emergencies, and God forbid we don't have another one. But when you sit in that chair, any morning could be, God forbid, another 9/11, could be another COVID pandemic. And you can't have on-the-job training in those situations. I've been there for COVID, which was probably the worst disaster emergency that we have faced in modern political history. So I know how to make government work, and I've shown that time and time and time again.
So interesting that, I always ask the question, we should view these campaigns as job interviews. I want to ask each and every candidate, answer the question because I think it's important. Governor, listen, I have been in so many green rooms across New York City and trying to figure you out because I haven't met you in person, but I've watched you, and my grandmother had a poster of your dad in her wall. So it was like Papi Mario. That's what it was in my house. So I got to tell you, Governor, one of the things that I hear about you is that you're arrogant. Governor, how do you handle that? How do you answer that question? Are you arrogant?
Arrogant? Me? Moi? Look, JC, if people think you're arrogant, then that's an issue you have to deal with, right? Nobody intends to be arrogant. But if that's what people feel, then that's what people feel. I think part of it is the position of governor is unique when it's done correctly. I was a strong governor. I don't apologize for that. I'm proud of that. And that's why I got done what I got done. Every project I did by sheer force. Because in New York, everybody has an opinion, everybody's opposed to everything, and you don't get anything done if you're waiting for consensus. There is no consensus. You get things done because you make things happen. Mm-hmm. And then you have a lot of people say, oh, you're arrogant. Yeah. By the way, the state constitution, there's one governor. There's dozens of mayors, there's hundreds of legislators, there's one governor. And the Constitution says that governor is responsible for statewide decisions like doing the budget for the state. You have 200 legislators and over 200 legislators, and they think this, but the governor is going to override? How arrogant.
Right.
Yes. It's also the job description written in the Constitution.
Yeah.
But Cuomo, 200 legislators want to do this, and you overrode them. Yes. How arrogant. Yeah. It's also the Constitution. Now, a weak governor, oh, how nice, sweet, hasn't gotten anything done, but nice.
Yeah. And I think it's because you're from Queens, Governor. I think, that's what it is. I'm a Bronx guy. I view you guys very differently.
Well, you Bronx guys are just jealous of the Queens guys. Let's be honest. Let's call it what it is.
Let's call it what it is. I want to know quickly, I know we're running out of time here. Imagine a Mayor Mamdani victory. What would it mean to Democrats nationally, considering the midterm elections are around the corner, to have a socialist get elected in New York City?
Oh, I think the Republican leadership would be licking their chops on a political level. Look, President Trump has gone right past socialist. He's a commie, right? So I think they would use that to stereotype the Democratic Party. They elected a commie. They're commies now, which would play right into the narrative of, we've gone too far left. We're communists. I think you would see congressional people lose in New York. I think you'd see congressional people lose in the outlying suburbs of New York. I think you could see a negative impact on statewide elections because this would be frightening to a lot of people. They don't consider them socialists. And this is not just a socialist. These are radical ideas. Government should control production, right? Anti-business. We don't do a lot of farming in New York City. I don't know if you've noticed. We don't do a lot of agriculture here. We do business. We're entrepreneurial. How does New York survive anti-business with a socialist? How do you survive with a mayor who's anti-police and calls them racist. So it would be shocking and frightening, and the Republicans would use that. But even without the Republicans using it, I think you're going to have a lot of moderate Democrats, never mind Republicans, independents, who say this is a step too far, and I am fundamentally frightened by these people.
And they're going to just become independents. We've seen a growing number of those folks come in. Well, Governor, we're at our last part, which is the lightning round. This is a fun part where we get to see the human Andrew Cuomo. Here it goes. Yankees or Mets?
Oh, I'm not both.
Oh, come on. I'm a Yankee bat boy. Don't do that.
I'm a Queens boy. I'm a Queens boy. So I started as a Mets fan. And I could ride my bicycle to Shea Stadium back then.
Back in the days.
As governor, I represented all of New York. So I rooted for the Yankees. I rooted for the Mets.
I'll give you a pass on this one, but I'm not going to give you a pass on the next. The Buffalo Bills or the New Jersey Giants or the New Jersey Jets? You pick
No.
your... I want to hear this.
Don't say that. JC, I used to have this fight with Governor Christie. They are not the New Jersey Jets.
Oh, don't do that.
They are the New York Jets, happen to play in a stadium located in New Jersey.
Where do the taxes for the sodas and popcorn go, Governor? Exactly. You got to switch over to the Bills world. Bills Mafia all the way.
The Bills are the only team, you can make money on this one. Bet someone, what is the only football team that plays in New York? They don't know about the Buffalo Bills down here. But the Buffalo Bills are the only team that actually plays in New York. And they're doing great.
And they are.
And there's such a, in New York City, you have the Jets, you have the Giants, you have basketball teams. Buffalo, they have the Bills,
And I'm a Bronx guy, a Buffalo Bills fan. Can you imagine how lonely that was?
Oh, but they have their franchise and they love their Bills. And it's so heartwarming because when you go up there for a Bills game, I mean, the fans are just electric about the Bills.
Yeah, Bills Mafia all the way. Now, what's your favorite New York City food spot?
My mother's kitchen.
Oh, that's a good answer. That's a good answer. Now, the day after Election Day, you've shocked the world. Governor Andrew Cuomo has become mayor of New York City. You've just won. Comeback Kid 2.0. Who's the first person you call?
I call my daughters and say, now you have to come back to New York City. No excuses.
All right.
No.
All right. Good answer. Governor Cuomo, it's been truly a pleasure sitting with you for this time to speak to independent voters, centrist voters, non-affiliated voters, to tell us about your plans in your campaign. We're going to invite the other mayoral candidates to come on and answer some of the tough questions and to talk about their experience. I mean, this was an important opportunity for independent voters across New York City. Thank you so much, Governor.
Thank you. Thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for your insight. And I think this is a great forum. And you're right. We have to get more people involved in the dialogue. And this November, independents matter. They matter. And by the way, I'm an independent.
That's right. Thank you, Governor.
Thank you. Thank you, JC.
Thanks again to former Governor Andrew Cuomo for joining us on our very first episode of Centered with JC Polanco. Look, as you can see, this is a place for no nonsense. This is no spin, and quite frankly, a place of no gotcha. It's an opportunity for candidates to come in to talk to us about the issues and how they feel that they can connect with independent voters. Talk to us directly. Look, now, I'll tell you this. Every single candidate for mayor of New York City is welcome to join us here at Centered with JC Polanco. We look forward to bringing you on and to talk to you about some of the issues that affect New Yorkers and independent voters in general. Now, listen, please make sure that you follow us on all social media at Centered with JC, at CENTERED with JC. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you follow, make sure you share. The more people we can get to watch Centered with JC Polanco, the more independent, moderate, and centrists are going to have a platform to be able to hear the issues that matter to us the most. Now stay tuned because we're going to have a great episode next week. Thank you for joining us.